VGK digs a deeper hole as the Golden Knights drop a 4-2 shootout decision in Ottawa on Saturday. The Golden Knights have now lost 3 in a row, and the road schedule won't get any easier with games in Toronto and Boston ahead. Our report coming up next right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. It's the start of a new week. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app, and you could get that $100 match on your first deposit. Make sure that you use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. The VGK free fall, Chris, continues. Now losers of 5 out of 6, 3 in a row, as we mentioned. I thought the Golden Knights had the game in hand the other night against the Senators, and they blew that 2-goal lead in the contest. Chandler Stevenson stepping up as he had a couple of goals. The second one tied the game. They went to OT, no scoring in overtime, but then Tim Stützle scored the shootout goal, and VGK falls again.
Mistakes. The second goal is the backbreaker of that game, right? Paul Cotter, it looked a little bit soft, but when you actually slow it down and watch the replay, Cotter literally gets his stick up in the armpit of a Senators player, which is not a good hockey player. Takes a penalty 180 feet from his own net while the team is on the power play. Mistake number one. Mistake number two, Alec Martinez can't clear a puck, and then obviously it ends up in the back of the net. That moment right there, you knew it's over. I mean, it was nice that the Golden Knights finally did something on the 6-on-5. Give them credit for that. And, this is an expensive game for the Golden Knights because, of course, the goal scorers are the two players with the expiring contracts. Marchessault, great game. And, of course, Stevenson, great to see him having a positive influence on the game. But I mean, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. You got 4 straight home losses. You got the road win against the San Jose Sharks, whoop-de-doo there, and a very winnable game against the Senators on Saturday. And, there's two perspectives. Did the Golden Knights salvage a point or did they lose a point? And in my opinion, they lost a point that game.
Yeah, they definitely did lose a point, as we'll talk to later on, because in the Pacific Division, things are really tightening up. In that shootout, Nick Waugh, Shea Theodore, and Jonathan Marchessault stopped by Anton Forsberg, and VGK having difficulties in the shootout.
Yeah, it's been so long since they've been in a shootout. I haven't really looked at the numbers as of late, but you don't score, you don't win, right? Theodore, you can't fault him for going back to that forehand backhand play because it works so much, but Forsberg was waiting for it. He sniffed it out, had his glove ready, and it didn't look like it was a good effort, but it just didn't look like a great effort because you have to credit the efforts of Forsberg being ready for Theodore's bread and butter.
Yeah, and Jonathan Marchessault, let's talk about him for a moment. 30 goals for the second time in his illustrious VGK career, and the first player to do so with 30 goals scored in 2 seasons. His value is just escalating, if you will. It really is, especially with now the cap expanding and everything else. You said maybe he'll take the hometown discount. Why? No, that was earlier. I know. But he's probably in the $6 to $6.5 million range as we speak, maybe more.
You wonder what and why and how the team goes about negotiating and the timing of everything. I guarantee you, McCrimmon and McPhee, there is a method to why that. At least all we know as of this moment was what Marchessault said during the last offseason when he was up in Canada. He made the comment that the Golden Knights like to take their time when it comes to, negotiating extensions. Okay, fine. That's how the Golden Knights do things. So be it. The hometown discount maybe then or maybe before the calendar turned 2024. was possibly 5 million AAV for 3 years. That was the hometown discount then. I think the hometown discount is up to 5.5 or 6 million right now. I think that's the team friendly deal based on what he's doing at this stage of his career. I mean, he stays healthy, knock on wood. He scores goals, he leads, he assists, he does everything necessary, especially in a time when this team is losing so much firepower. So, if you ever wonder, as a tweet that I put out on Saturday, you ever wondered how much a player's, performance in the last 3 or 4 months of a contract year dictates their upcoming value? We're about to find out here in Southern Nevada whether Marchessault is a Golden Knight at this time next year, or if he's not a Golden Knight this time next year. We know his next contract's going to have far greater than a 5 million AAV. If the Golden Knights can get him at anything less than 6, that's a hometown discount. 6.5, I wouldn't be surprised if they do pony up for it. If it does get up to 7 million, I think McCrimmon still thinks long and hard about his options.
Wow, that would be interesting. He does need to make more than that other guy, of course, Vegas Bjorn. While the team's out of town, I had a recommendation from someone who said that maybe perhaps I go back to T-Mobile Arena and we sage the entire arena there, because since my appearance 0-4 at home, and they'll be
my
0-4 for
buddy,
the
I
next
bring him
8
up a lot,
months.
Chris Condos. I'm sure he'll dig this. He was the ultimate cooler, and in the casinos, a lot of the casino workers get to wear football jerseys on game days, Thursdays, Sundays, Mondays, and whatever. And it got to the point where people in the poker room or poker employees would ask him what jersey he's going to wear, because if he wore that team's jersey, they're not covering. Best case scenario, they're winning but not covering. That's the curse of a Condos. So I mean, you guys can maybe get together, you and Condos. He can wear the other team's jersey maybe in a game. You can drop some sage or pine sol or whatever it is you do outside, and the Golden Knights will turn around.
Yeah, perhaps. Chandler Stevenson, you're talking about players with closing kicks and how it could affect their value.
Ooh, I like that. I like that closing kick. I like that. That's
Yeah,
good.
a little
like
horse racing,
I like that.
terms.
You know me.
Yeah, for sure. You and I we're at the quarter pole of this show.
And
Uh,
Carp.
yeah, we're about 3 furlongs into this show. But Stevenson, what do you think about Stevenson and now the way that he's playing late in the season? Well, you also have to consider there's no one else on this team that is expected to score. So just put pucks on net. And hopefully for both Stevenson and Marchessault, things turn out well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Chandler Stevenson, nice to see him having a positive influence on not just this game, but some games as of late. I mean, he's still sitting on 34 points. He's still a -9 when his plus minus was 12, 5, 22, and 19, going back to 1920 with the Golden Knights. So defensively, his game has changed. And we can't just say this is all in Mark Stone's injury because those two play so well together. It's not. Chandler Stevenson this season has not performed very well. Let's be completely honest with ourselves. But you said closing kick. Golden Knights are in a bad spot right now. Call it what it is. Just maybe this is where Chandler Stevenson turns it on and he finally finds his way and does so without Mark Stone. We're talking about adding value and stuff like that. Well, for Chandler Stevenson, and we talked about this a little bit on Friday, for Chandler Stevenson really to make his value to the Golden Knights apparent, so to speak, is what can he do away from Mark Stone, number one, and can Chandler Stevenson do things on the wing when necessary? If Chandler can check both of those boxes, I think the Golden Knights will have no problem talking about, something in the 5 million AAV range coming up to next year and keeping the band together, so to speak. But the way he's been playing as of late, I think his value, at least in Vegas, has maybe dipped a little bit below that number. However, I'm sure there's many teams in the NHL that would be very happy to sign a top 6 center who's, he'll be 30 years old when his contract expires, who has put up 64 and 65 points and adjusted in the 2020-21 shortened season. He would have had about, 50, 55 points as well that season. So there will be teams lining up to pay him greater than $5 million. If you want $6 million, I don't see the Golden Knights doing that. If he wants $5 million, I think these next, really the next 2 weeks before, not even 2 weeks, the trade deadline is 11 days, 12 days away now.
A week from
Stevenson really
Friday.
needs
Yeah,
to, a week from Friday. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun. Obviously, we're gonna hit that in a little bit, I guess. But crazy,
yeah.
quick
Coming
season.
up next,
Amazing how fast it goes by. Amazing how fast it goes by.
exactly. And coming up next, we'll talk about some trade rumors. And then Chris wants to discuss whether or not VGK should be a buyer or a seller before the trade deadline. That's all I had right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Our sponsor today is Camino Consulting. How would you like to get to know someone better in an hour than you would in a year? Understanding one another really better prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid sized businesses, helping management groups navigate conflict, and onboarding new employees, Camino is now offering a digital seminar for families and couples. Perhaps taking someone to a game that they didn't want to go to didn't go over as well as you would hope. Get the couples and families online seminar for 25% off for this month, the month of February. Do it fast because the month, of course, ending later this week. Use the discount code Locked On. Again, the discount code Locked On for 25% off for the remainder of this month at www.caminoconsulting.ca. That's caminoconsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when you are reaching out for a business seminar and receive the first 5 profiles for free. Welcome back. Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Don't forget on Fridays, WTF. Saturday, it is the Chris and Chris show. And one of our people there at the Dollar Loan Center comes up to me the other night and says, "Hey, someone has a message for you, Cardasco." They said, "Shut up, Tony." So we were there for the Vegas Thrill, of course. I consult for that brand. Women's.
Shut up, Tony.
She wasn't as feisty the other night. But little Chris now, that's another story. But that was a fun experience. I'm glad that you and the fam made it out there. And please come back again soon. Got it?
It's fun, guys. Like watching for me. I mean, I played volleyball a long time ago in school and stuff like that. One of my favorite sports growing up. But it's just a fun environment, very positive, very interesting watching the game. You can either sit up close or you can sit a little higher up to get a better perspective. But the power of the serves, each team had 2 particular players that can absolutely just crush. And was it
Hannah Maddox, number
yes,
11?
thank you. Hannah,
Holy
she
smokes.
is a beast.
Okay, so she went to South Alabama, and she had an ACL injury in her junior year, and a lot of schools tried to poach her from South Alabama. She was loyal and stayed there, but she's about 6'2". She's around 6'2", and the lift and the height, and then just bullets, right? Like on the serves. Holy smokes.
It's
It's
crazy
insane, right?
watching.
It is. It is.
Definitely highly recommended. A lot of fun, good, positive, fun environment. And I want to share something really interesting and kind of funny about my business here for a second. So I did a real huge sports card break last night on my Whatnot channel, Silver State.
I saw that. Nice plug. Good plug.
So we did 81 total boxes last night, a 50 box break and a 31 box break. I joked on the 81st box. This is the final box of the break, 5-hour show, real tired.
5
so there's
hours.
no
You did
possible
5 hours
way.
just consecutive.
Yeah, 5 hours,
talking,
long show.
Okay.
But I joked, I said, there's no way the 81st box is Jonathan Marchessault. The particular product I was opening, it's 1 card, 1 autograph. I said, there's no way the 81st box is going to be a Jonathan Marchessault autograph. Sure as heck, the 81st box was a Jonathan Marchessault autograph. If you go on my Twitter, I clipped the thing. It's so funny to watch. So yeah, there you go. So all right, back to business.
Absolutely cool. So after Saturday's game, the Ottawa Sun reports that VGK's George McPhee had a long conversation with the Senators GM and president of hockey operations. And then the associate GM, Ryan Bonus, joined in that conversation. Has to be Tarasenko talks, correct? Um, I have to believe. So what they're saying in Ottawa now, Chris, is that the Senators would like to get a prospect and a high draft pick for landing
Done.
Tarasenko. So, so the prospect might be blank.
I mean, Brisson is the obvious answer.
I know it is Brisson, probably. That's what I was going to say.
And there could be
Don't
other
go
things like you
Briso,
saw,
don't
like all
go
these highlights
Briso.
from Cataford and stuff like that. But I mean, the bigger question before you get to who, like, should the Golden Knights push
I
their
was
chips in right now?
trying to do the build up there, bro.
Okay, go ahead. You take it. You take me down.
No. So, cat's out of the bag. Buy or sell. It's up there on the board. Should they be buyers or sellers? Both, perhaps. But I've got another question to your question. Okay.
Okay.
If VGK needs dance partners, will they not come as easily as they have in the past? And do teams not want to trade and deal with the Vegas Golden Knights?
Listen, everyone has a price. Everyone watching this podcast, myself, Tony, we all have what we consider prized possessions. I'm talking like goods. I'm not talking, memories and
No,
family.
just
I'm
a
talking
sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a hat.
right, but we all
Right.
have stuff that
Or
we
shut
might
up,
have.
Tony.
Like I got some items in that big safe behind me that I would say I don't want to sell. I got some really nice Connor McDavid autographs and Wayne Gretzky autographs and Wayne Gretzky rookie cards, but it's all for sale. It might be the asking price might be a little higher for some of those items, but at the end of the day, everything and everyone has a price. And don't think for a second that because of the circumvention and all that crap that people like to spew and whatever, that teams aren't going to make a deal with the Golden Knights. That's just nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
Okay,
Everyone has a
buyers or
price,
sellers?
and McPhee and
Buyers or
McCrimmon are
sellers?
pretty good negotiators.
What do you think? You think that they might be sellers? Is that why that's on the board?
So, I mean, I think I know what McCrimmon's going to do. I don't think there's a world that exists where McCrimmon doesn't push his chips into the middle. But I mean, poker reference. Last year, the trades that McCrimmon made, from a poker perspective, he's drawing to an outside straight. You got a fair amount of odds to make your hand if you're drawing to like an outside
Especially
straight.
if you're a made man. Especially
if you're a made man, right? You got about a 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 shot, depending on the situation. That's the easiest way to explain. The poker hand that McCrimmon is drawing to this year, I think, is a little tougher to complete. I think he's drawing more or less to an inside straights, right? Where you only have 4 cards in the deck that could possibly help you. It's like a 12%, 10% chance to make your hand by the time the river comes and beat your opponent. So I was thinking about this last night for a while. And I mean, listen, Eichel's going to come back hopefully on this road trip. Eichel's not going to be Eichel for 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 games to get his legs under him. Let's be clear about this. Mark Stone, it seems like he's as good as done for, at least for the regular season. I've heard from weeks. The Golden Knights said week to week, that's a month and a half. So let's call Mark Stone done for the regular season, possibly deep into the playoffs. Are there enough pieces out there to replace Mark Stone and to find the production that Jack Eichel's not going to have for a while? Is there enough out there? The Golden Knights have their first, second, and third round draft picks, I believe, for the next 3 seasons. You got Brisson, you got Luc Cormier, you got some other players a little deeper down the pipeline, that are in juniors and stuff like that, like a Cataford, and just throwing some random names out there right now. So the Golden Knights have the ability to do something. But okay, if they trade for Vladimir Tarasenko, we'll start the bidding there. Tarasenko in his 37 points in 53 games this year, who has at one point been a point per game player throughout his career, but there's been a lot of health concerns. You got the guy in the box they've been talking about, Riley Smith. You got Jake Gensel. Enter Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
Jake Gensel's numbers are great. And we could do a deeper dive into specific players, but Gensel's numbers are great. I like his plus minus. He's a point per game player. But, Jake Gensel on February 15th suffered an upper body injury where he's supposed to miss 4 weeks. That's past the trade deadline. He's on LTIR right now, folks. So this is playing with fire if McCrimmon shoves all in. I'm not saying they should sell this second, but there is a path for McCrimmon to sell like a Chandler Stevenson right now. and you can either replenish the talent pipeline, you can get a draft pick, you can do something that can help strengthen the team for next year and give the team an assets that they could flip for a greater return. That's a possibility, but I don't have an answer if they should buy or sell right now. I don't. But I am not going to say on February 26th, with the Golden Knights losing 4 straight home games, 1 victory against the Sharks, and they couldn't close the deal against the Sens. I'm not going to sit here and say the Golden Knights should be buying at the deadline and find a way. First time probably in a long time I made a comment like that. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion the Golden Knights are buyers right now.
I think that could be both. And you missed the opportunity to say, talking about cards, that VGK is not playing with a full deck. Dude, come on.
They're not even playing with a Spanish 21 deck where you take out, what is it, the Jacks and the 10s?
They're playing
whatever it is.
Yeah, they're playing war right now. A name that you had mentioned there was Jake Guentzel. Gensel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Saturday night, we had heard Elliot Friedman at halftime there say, or halftime between periods. I've got all sorts of things in my head. Gensel, they said that VGK, Edmonton, and Vancouver are among the teams interested in his services within the division. So VGK, hey, these are big egos here in that front office. They might try to go in for the block there and wind up with Gensel, even though he's on LTIR. Carolina, Florida, also mentioned there. 52 points, 22 games there, Mr. Chris. And his salary is at $6 million, would be a rental in Vegas. And VGK at this juncture has $6 million, about approximately, in cap space. So that could be the move.
Golden Knights, they can create closer to $10 million with
Don't you think
everything
it's one of
happening.
those two? Don't you think it's Jake Gensel or it's Tarasenko? I think
those are the
They're not
early
gonna bring back Riley
prizes.
Smith. They won't bring back Riley Smith. No way.
I won't say that. I won't use the word won't. It's anything is possible with McCrimmon. How about Gensel and Riley Smith?
Meh. I think they need, before they do, bringing back a Riley Smith, I think they need an experienced goaltender. They do.
That ship has sailed. The Golden Knights, they are not doing anything with their goalies. They are all in with Aiden and
I am
Nolan.
not feeling good about.
I'm not saying I'm comfortable. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
Remember,
I'm
my confidence level was about a 7. It's down to about a 5 right now.
And that's totally fair. Although Logan's last 2 starts have been very serviceable. The goals he gave up against Ottawa, I mean, a tip in, a terrible power play exit, and he just doesn't see the first one. I mean, maybe it'd be nice to get that one more save, fine, whatever. But the Golden Knights didn't deserve the victory that game, and Logan did what he could to give them the victory.
Coming up next, the standings.
We could have kept going for a while with that segment. We could have kept going for a long time.
I was going to bring up Sage again and all that. Saging there, T-Mobile Arena. Coming up next, the standings in the Pacific and Western Conference. Man, they are tightening up. We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Hey, sports fans, Sleeper, as you know, our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. And with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contest. What players would you take this week to win 100 times your money? Fans can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and all of that on Sleeper. You can absolutely connect with fans. You can pick a player like a stud, like the Bread Man in New York with my Rangers, or Rempe for the number of punches he throws. Is that something on Sleeper? Who will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 players' stats. You heard us, VGK fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention. Make sure that you nail your picks so that you can start winning big. And you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use. We are back, Locked On Golden Knights, this Monday edition. Big week ahead for VGK. Next 2 games at Toronto and at Boston. And they are becoming, lest I say, the Folded Knights. I'm going to bring back the Golden Knights. I'm going to do the hashtag Stanley Cap. Also, I'll throw that in there. Don't forget, coming up on Fridays, it's WTF. On Saturdays, it's the Chris and Chris show, which is the YouTube exclusive. So by the time VGK hits the ice, shut up, Tony, I see that. By the time VGK hits the ice, Chris, in Toronto on Tuesday, either Edmonton or the LA Kings will be just 1 point behind VGK in the standings because the Oilers and the Kings, they meet tonight in Edmonton. The Golden Knights, 71 points, and you have 68 apiece for the Oilers and for Los Angeles. Edmonton, 3 games in hand, 2 games in hand for the Kings. Are the Golden Knights taking on water? Are they in trouble?
Golden Knight fans, not
Are
the
you going to
news
say
you wanna
relax?
hear.
Are you going to say relax again?
No.
Are you past that? No, not at all.
I'm past it.
Okay.
I'm not panicking, but I'm also not of the, okay, guys, there's 34 games left. They're going to figure this out. That's not where we're past that point. Things could be okay or they could not be okay, but I'm right in the middle right now. But let's just talk numbers for a second. Golden Knights are separated by 5 points between 5th place in the West and 8th place in the West. The Blues right now are the playoff bubble, as are the Minnesota Wild at 62 points. Cal, 1, 2, 3. Gary has 61 points. So Golden Knights are looking at the wrong side of the standings as far as they are competing for whatever's going to happen down the stretch here. The topic says no one wants the Pacific. Why? Well, Vancouver's 4-5-1, Vegas 4-5-1, Edmonton 4-5-1. The top 3 teams of the Pacific not playing very well in their last 3. But now let's look at the next 2 teams: the Kings 7-2-1, the Flames 7-3-1.
Right.
Or 7-3, pardon me.
7-3,
so,
yeah.
You know, these teams who are lower down that we kind of forgot about for a minute, all of a sudden are trying to charge back right now. And you have a depleted Golden Knights, like you said, taking on water, closing kick. I mean, whatever pun you want to throw in right now, I
threw a bunch at you.
You know,
sorry, man.
It's a concern.
In the West, in the Western Conference, something that caught my attention, since management reneged the U2 concert, look at this Nashville team. They beat the Blues, they beat the Golden Knights, they beat the Kings, the Sharks, and the Ducks. They've won 5 straight, and they are now the last wild card team in contention in the West. So all you need to do is go on one of these patented win streaks. But I guess they sent a very strong message there in Nashville.
So I got one more for you. You'll probably appreciate this one more than anyone as soon as
You're
I pull
always
this
trying
up
to
here.
one-up me, dude. Go ahead.
No, I'm definitely going to one-up you, I think. But this is one you're going to like as soon as I find it here. So
Something
how about your
staging.
New York Rangers, Tony?
Of course.
Golden Knights had their way with the Rangers not once but twice in a very short, period of time here. And your Rangers, I believe, are on a 10-game. Oh, they just lost to the Blue Jackets.
Lost.
So they were on a 10-game.
Yeah, back-to-back. It kind of burned
okay.
them.
Who was the last team that beat the New York Rangers when that 10-game winning streak started?
Nashville.
Golden Knights.
I know. It was the Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights. So, I mean, the Golden Knights are doing all sorts of wonders for the NHL right now. But, this is what Cassidy said. I thought he had a great quote in the last presser against Toronto. The Golden Knights have what other teams want right now. And the Golden Knights also are, I don't know if an injured animal is the best way to say it, but that's probably what the reality is. They're an injured animal right now, and no one's going to take it easy on them. Teams are going for the kill. Call it what it is right now. They're going for the kill on the Golden Knights. They're going for their throat. And that's what any team does when you're going against a Stanley Cup champion, right? That's what the Golden Knights did against the Avs, historically, and just every team when you're the Stanley Cup champion. Everyone wants what you have. They're not going to take it easy on you. And now when the games matter the most, teams are turning it up. This is where I thought the Golden Knights would not have as much struggle. You can point to the injuries a little bit. That's a reality, fine. But there's still enough players, starting with the defense and the goaltending, on this roster that know how to achieve that next gear. We saw Aiden do it. We saw Logan do it at periods. We've seen the entire defense shut people down. We've seen Chandler Stevenson do very well, obviously, when it matters. Marchessault is still doing very well. Brett Howden, Paul Cotter, players like that. You would like to see more. Nick Waz turned it up, but as a unit, they're not finding that next gear right now, and that's the concern for me.
Yeah. And in the Pacific Division, you mentioned Cal 101, 2, 3, Gary. And then the Kraken, though, another team, perhaps last year, they started to play much better towards the end of the season. 59 points. So they are currently about 7 points. They're 7 points out of a playoff spot. The Flames now are 5 points behind the Preds for that last playoff spot. Could make some noise in the latter part of the season. I expected the Kraken, I'm sure you did too. I think you did. We expected the Kraken to be much better this season and in the playoff hunt, right? And they slumped early in the season. They have 11 extra period losses this season. So that's come back to hurt them.
That. Jeez, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's
Golden
a
Knights
lot.
got 7. Golden Knights got 7 overtime losses.
7.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's more than last year. I want to say that there were just 5, maybe last season, something like that. I think that is more. But we definitely can.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Let's see how on the ball Tony is this morning.
The
Golden Knights had 9 OTLs last year. 9. There goes the pencil.
Yeah, that's enough. Okay, we're going
to be fair, maybe those OTL losses, Tony. What I will say is maybe those were more or less points salvaged, where the Golden Knights earned a points versus this season. Those are a lot of those are points they've lost.
They lost. Yeah. They left on the table. Good point. Of course, tomorrow we will have the preview of VGK Toronto. How does VGK turn around that 7-3 loss here in Las Vegas before I saged T-Mobile Arena? And of course, we'll have our predictions and some late breaking news. I think something's going to pop here very, very soon.
This is the week. I don't think we wait till the deadline because the Golden Knights could be in a bad spot by then.
Yeah, and I think they go for Gunsel for the block because you have 2 teams in the Pacific Division.
Who's on LTIR
for him?
He's on LTIR.
Yeah, but Edmonton and Vancouver see the same thing.
It's such a risk.
Okay, we'll have a lot tomorrow. Don't forget Fridays, WTF. Saturdays, of course, are the Chris and Chris show. We appreciate all of you, especially our everydayers. We'll be back again tomorrow for my man, Chris Golick. I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.